I do have a question straight up. I know that in some areas there just aren't as many creative arts therapists working. I think today you've highlighted what an incredibly important role a creative arts therapist can play with a person with deafblindness. But what would you suggest if somebody has seen this presentation and thinking, oh, I'd love to get creative arts therapy for my client, but there's no one in my area? What would you suggest?
So there is the Anzacata webpage, which has a whole directory of art therapists across Australia. Sorry, your question was how to get in touch with an art therapist, or?
Well, if there is no art therapist in the area, I think that's great. It's great that people know where to look for them, but sometimes people look and there's nothing there. So, So what would you suggest people do if they're wanting to like start exploring art with somebody?
Yeah, sure. I think looking up some of the different search terms that I've recommended for some of the different art processes that you can try with someone is a great start. But also there are resources on Anzacata's website as well. And I'd also suggest, even if there's not an art therapist in your area, like I've been contacted a few times by people in Western Australia where there are a few art therapists, but none of them have worked with people who are deafblind before. Don't be afraid to reach out to an art therapist, even if they're a bit far away from you, and get in touch, because there's a network out there. So I've been contacted by people in WA that have said, hey, can you give us a few tips? I really want to work with this population. And then they've ended up, you know, working with someone who's deaf and blind. So I'd suggest reaching out through Anzacata, but also if you've got, it's not like, I'd strongly advocate to always try creative processes with people in art making. But if you're not an art therapist, don't say, I'm doing art therapy. But say you have an OT and you want to try expanding your interests, and this is what I'm interested in, the OT might be able to suggest some different art processes as well. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Claire. And we've got a few questions coming through. Thanks for those asking questions. So we've got, hi, Claire, thanks for a great presentation. Just wondering how you would use nature in your therapy.
Oh, that's a great question. I haven't used a lot currently, but I do know there are networks I've noticed a lot at the moment about nature therapy in a few Facebook groups that I'm in. There's actually a Facebook group that's for creative arts therapy using nature. So I haven't personally used a lot. I have taken out clients before outside of the art room and found different like barks and leaves and then done shading over the top. So integrating things like that. But I haven't explored deeply into the world of using nature in my art therapy processes. But I do know there are quite a lot of resources out there for that I'm happy to forward on to people if you would like to get in touch about that.
Thanks, Claire. I think that's a great question. I hope people don't mind me saying it, from Karen. I think it's a great question because it's something people with deafblindness, you can really explore the natural world together and then use it with an art. So I think it can be a really meaningful way of creating art. There's another question here from Lee saying the felting picture on the like window of tolerance slide. Just asking, was the felt work stuck onto the material or how it was? And was it glue or some kind of sticky contact paper?
I'm just reading the question. So how was the felt?
Oh, yeah. It might be easier if you read
it. So it's actually, we've done a felting process with dry wool and put it between bubble wrap and rubbed it back and forth with soapy material. And often, like traditionally, it's meant to fuse together and make a sheet of felting. However, the way that this client engaged in it was picking it up and pulling it apart and putting it back under the bubble wrap. So it ended up being this sort of liney, spidery felting piece, and I just glued it to a blank backing card. So the image that you saw was the spidery kind of felting piece stuck with some glue to a white piece of card. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Claire. We still have time for a few more questions if anybody has them. I would like to just encourage people, if you're not already, to follow us on Facebook. If you look for Deafblind Information, it'll pop up as Deafblind Information Australia. That's where we post a lot of information about our workshops, or go to our website. We are hoping to run full-day workshops on congenital deafblindness around Australia next year. We've been meaning to for the last 2 years, but we've finally run workshops in Adelaide, and one was run in Hobart today. So keep an eye out for those workshops coming up in your local area. Just see if there's any other questions. Just a thank you for that answer.
Sorry, just had one more thing. The Deafblind International Creative Arts Network has just been started up again. So I've been liaising with a woman who's a dance therapist in Croatia, and we've literally just started up the Facebook page again. But I'd really encourage anyone who works creatively or is a deafblind person themselves working creatively to join that network. We're really wanting to start a network of people working creatively with adults and children in the deafblind world, and we're hoping to have our first meeting in January. So and yeah, it would be a great space to share how people are working creatively as well. So yeah.
Great plug. Thank you, Claire. If there's no other questions, which it doesn't look like there is, I would like to thank Claire again very much for a really informative session, and I hope people are feeling a bit encouraged and motivated to give art a go. I would like to thank our interpreters today, Mac and Kieron, and to thank our captioner, Sula. And a very, very big thank you to someone you haven't seen or heard, Emily, who this couldn't have happened without you, Emily. Thank you for doing all the background technology work and setting us up and keeping us calm. Thank you. And a big thank you to all the participants for coming along. There's no presentation without people attending. So I hope you've all got something out of today, and keep an eye out for coming up workshops, face-to-face and webinars. There's going to be a few running next year. So this is our last one for this year. Thanks again, everybody. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you and working with you in 2022. Bye.